These lyrics from my song Saturn Returns capture the cyclical nature of music and life. Music has always been my mood medicine, a necessary injection on life's road trips. And today, the way we consume, curate, and produce music is going through another planetary revolution. Music has the profound ability to evoke nostalgia, a sentimental longing for the past which significantly influences our music choices. Music possesses a unique power to transport listeners back in time, triggering vivid recollections of emotions and bridging the gap between past and present. This is not just a matter of reminiscing the good old days. Nostalgia is a complex emotional experience that connects our past experiences to our current sense of self. For many, especially senior citizens, music serves as a powerful tool for evoking nostalgia. Throughout my lifetime, the relationship between musical artist and consumer has been evolving. In the 1970s, I grew up with a record player, and my mother's collection of Barbra Streisand, Neil Diamond, Nat King Cole, and Barry Manilow were among some of my favorites. But I remember my first album at the age of 7, Billy Joel's Glass Houses. I had heard it at a friend's house who had older sisters, and in that moment, I recognized this was my sound. Much of finding myself through adolescence was a process of curating my music collection, facilitated by new technology. The record player and the 8-track tape player that followed were my parents' technologies, and the sounds that emanated from these machines were their cultural identity. But the cassette player, that was mine. And at a price that a 10-year-old earning a $5 a week allowance could afford. In the 1980s, the Columbia Record Club offered a deal where you paid $1 for a dozen cassettes and could then order additional ones from a catalog. I added Billy Joel's Songs from the Attic, still one of my favorite albums, and The Police's Synchronicity. I discovered classic rock through the first teenage love of my life. Laying under the summer sky, we listened to Pink Floyd and Michael Hedges' version of All Along the Watchtower. Before I could articulate my own sexual revolution, I found the Indigo Girls, who would eventually lead me to find my true love. And as I share these personal stories, I know that you too have your own coming-of-age moments with music, wherever you grew up in the world. Despite all the technological changes in the making, manufacturing, and dissemination of music, what's remained constant is that one-way road between an artist and an audience. We show up at concerts to hear other people tell their stories, and we gravitate towards the ones that resonate with our own experiences. Music acts as an emotional salve, acknowledging our feelings without the need for words, and can strengthen bonds between friends and family. For me, singing has provided another way to participate in music production. From performing in my first musical to singing in swanky dive bars, music has been a constant companion. Neuroimaging studies show that listening to music stimulates many areas of the brain and releases dopamine, a neurotransmitter associated with pleasure. This response is particularly strong when the music is linked with past emotions. And for me, the music of my teenage years still forms the soundtrack of my life. But 2020, it changed my relationship with music. The pandemic brought out deep feelings that no amount of journaling could capture. These emotions came out as poetry, which quickly evolved into songwriting. I needed my own mood medicine, songs that felt connected to my past, rooted in my present, and hopeful for my future. My first songs were simple extensions of a playlist, curating sounds from the music library in my pocket, as Steve Jobs once referred to it. I was gathering my inspiration and looking for a style that was uniquely mine, but influenced by the years of listening and curating. I assembled a playlist for each song and also began defining some of the structural elements of the music, the time signature, the key, the instruments, the snippets of rhythms and melodies. Simultaneously, the writing process began. I would write a lyric and then hear the music come to me on a bike ride or a run. I began recording these musical ideas into a voice recorder and then coming back later to my computer to lay down the notes in a music writing application called Noteflight. Despite my ability to read and write music, I have absolutely no talents. In fact, negative talents in playing instruments. My two hands can figure out how to type on a computer keyboard, but they freeze up on an instrument. So Noteflight let me write and play back the instrumentation so I could hear the notes as I wrote them. Elizabeth Gilbert describes the creative process as big magic, which perfectly encapsulates my experience with songwriting. Despite my limited instrumental skills, tools like Noteflight allowed me to materialize my ideas. Yet moving from writing to production was daunting until I started to discover image generators and then, later, AI music tools. In 2020, I turned my creative attention back to the visual arts. I started playing with image generators, a whimsy that's now turned into a career. And as I came to understand the process of collaborating with a chaos machine and translating what I knew about making art with traditional media to making art with this unpredictable, disobedient, whack job of a machine, I began to see that there was going to be a different path forward for me and music. And that time has come. As with image generators, making music with AI requires a collaborative approach. You need to kill your darlings, a term writers use for being willing to leave elements of your writing that don't move the plot along behind. You cannot control many of the aspects a musician usually controls: time, key, and melody. And you need to play the odds, run many variations to get the one that's closest to what you've envisioned. But it's actually quite amazing how closely I've been able to marry my song sketches with the ghost in the machine. I don't see these works as final productions. There's just nothing that compares to a human musician on a stage with an audience and the visceral experience of feeling sound throughout your body in the company of others who share your love of music. But being able to mock up a sound like we can do now with music generators, perhaps it's one step closer to making a song that will get to live beyond the four walls of my living room. Hey, a girl can dream. For me, the ability to fully produce a song connects with the deepest part of my humanity. The two songs I've made take everything that I've loved about other artists' music and combines it with those elements of my own story that probably only I can appreciate. I have no idea whether they will resonate with others, and I'd be lying if I said I didn't hope they would. But what they do for me is unexplainable. And putting that kind of power in everyday people's hands to tell our own stories and hear them sung back to us, it's rich. Can you imagine writing not only your own wedding vows, but also your own song for your first dance? At graduation, rather than changing the lyrics to an existing tune, you can write your own song that captures all the memories in a style of music that's helped you form your identity. And at your funeral, I hope someone writes that song of your life that perfectly captures the essence you've left on the planet from your unique presence. I was invited to speak at an event recently and suggested that I talk about music production. The person politely asked if I could focus my talk on something more related to business. And while I'm happy to demo different ways to use generative AI to do businessy things, I will remind us that in 2023, the recorded music industry's total revenue was reported to be $28.6 billion. Looking ahead, the music market size is estimated to grow from $30.7 billion in 2024 to $45.65 billion by 2029, with a compound annual growth rate of 8.54%. Does that sound businessy enough for you? Or how about those long wait times on hold as you queue up to speak to a customer service representative? What if it could be music that's written just for you? There will always be a place for the Taylor Swifts and the Billie Eilishes of the world, people who write and produce songs that speak to our collective experience with incredible invention and artistry. But we would be putting our heads in the proverbial sand if we didn't think that the ability not only to have songs in our pockets, but our own songs in our pockets is not going to revolutionize the production of music. For the next generation, Spotify is their parents' technology. Their music will be their own.
What comes around, time and again, time coming around. Virgin tables to sit at the table, to enjoy the feast. Saturn returns, kill all your darlings and brush off the shavings. 100 times better the second time round. Highway now.
I'm Lori Mazor, and I teach AI with a human touch. I'm reinventing how we educate, strategize, and build the future one article at a time. If you enjoy this newsletter, you will love the book Temperature Creativity in the Age of AI, which debuted at #1 on the new releases in human computer interaction and is now available on Amazon. You can join one of our executive boot camps. If you'd like to join the waitlist for June, you can email info@synthetivity.net. Or bring our 10-hour corporate training program to your company, empowering your employees to identify their own problems, strategize, and build their own solutions as you organically incubate and grow enterprise-level applications. And I'm going on tour. Our team is planning our 5-city book tour to DC, Boston, LA, Chicago, Miami, and San Francisco. We'd love to visit you for a reading, workshop, or creative jam session. Media bookings and inquiries to marnie@thesalopgroup.com. Thank you for listening to Humans of AI, where each week I muse about the creative, responsible, and strategic use of artificial intelligence in business.